Story. Welcome to another interview. Today we have Rodney Allgood, and Rodney is such an important person, I feel, in the exJW Witness space. So he is the person who started Empowered exJW Witnesses on Facebook. And he interviewed me a year ago when I was here in Costa Rica back in like March, February-ish time. And he just has such a great story. He told me a little bit about it, but I wanted to know it more in detail. And I just want to say I'm so honored that he got a chance to come here on my channel. So thank you, Rodney, for coming here and for sharing your story. I know it's going to be a very impactful one. So you want to take us down to your childhood and talk us through what got you to be a Jehovah's Witness and then your exit out. So we'll just start from there.
Well, I was born into it. My mom started studying about the time I was born. And my dad followed slightly after. So it's all I knew growing up. And, I mean, it's not something I knew I didn't know anything different, right? So it's just the way the world was. I had a lot of friends growing up. I was kind of a popular Jehovah's Witness kid. So, it wasn't something where I felt so constrained, even though I couldn't do a lot of things that everyone else did at school, whatever. I had a lot of friends. So I had things that kind of made up for it, right? Witnesses, you go camping with 10, 12 families, and you go to the movies with 20 people, so it was okay growing up. My dad was an elder, my mom was a pioneer. I was always on all the assemblies and kind of the golden child growing up, and got married young, like most of us do. I call it a sex license. You marry the first person you date, right? Because you want to get it on. So I got married young and was married for 18 years, but probably around 30, I started questioning things because I was always into personal development. When I was 25 years old, I bought a book called Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins.
Wait. 25, you were a witness and you were into self-help stuff.
Yeah.
That's so against the rules. Like, how did that make sense?
I was an entrepreneur. I always had an entrepreneurial mind. So I started a business when I was 22 that kind of took off. So just to propel my business, or just to learn a mindset for business, I started reading books. In fact, no, what happened is I used to stay up late at night, and this was Tony Robbins was first coming out, and he'd make these commercials late at night. I'd watch this commercial with this big tall dude with big teeth. But what he was saying was so intriguing to me. Like, wow, it just resonated with me, right? And I felt really bad buying that book, right? Because you were supposed to get this outside knowledge. But I went to the bookstore, and hey, that's the guy that I see on TV. This is before he was really famous. That's the guy from TV. And I bought the book, and I couldn't stop reading, and so much in there just resonated with me. And from there, I just could not get enough books and, motivational CDs and cassette tapes back then. And I started going to seminars. And when you start growing, any kind of growth will expand you beyond the religion. That's why they don't want you to go to college and educate yourself, because once you start growing, you'll outgrow it at some point. And that's what happened to me. So around 30, I started having issues.
So you were 40, you had issues, you were an elder. 30. And what was your stance?
The funny thing was, I think some of us that inwardly know something's not right, even if we don't admit it to ourselves, sometimes we hold ourselves back, because I never would take the appointment. They would want to appoint me as a ministerial servant, and I'd lower my hours. I'd like disqualify myself, right? Because something didn't feel right about excelling any more than I was doing, right? So I always rejected that stuff. So around 30, I started questioning things. I'd go to assembly, like, what he said doesn't sound right, based on the things that I was learning and, the growth I was having. I start hearing things, nah, that's not how it works.
Wow. That's very interesting. But then you were married and you had kids. So did you share that with your partner?
Yeah, so that creates a problem, right? Because I have a son at the time and a wife. and a business. And at the time, my business employed about, I think, about 18 or 19 Jehovah's Witnesses.
Wow.
I had 30 some employees, but 18 or 19 of them were Jehovah's Witnesses. So when I got to the point where I'm like, I just don't believe this. Like when they changed the meaning of a generation, that was it for me. I was like, man, I've lived through 1975 and some of these other changes, and this one here, yeah, you have to change it because almost all these people of that generation are dead, right? I just was like, these people don't know what they're talking about. And yeah, I really started reeling at that point. But then how do I get out of my life? I'm married and I got a kid and I got this business I worked so hard to build. How do I unravel my life? Man, if I pull the plug, my whole life's gonna implode on top of me. So you try to just kind of fake it and trudge along. And when you start pulling away and your wife's still committed to it, your relationship starts to sour and the kid starts looking at you sideways. It takes a lot of courage, to make the decision to pull the plug on your life.
Absolutely.
You got it. One day I just said, I'm pulling the plug. Faked it as long as I could. And when you don't have peace at home, you don't have peace. And when you don't believe anymore and your wife still believes and she's treating you like you're Satan, she's living with Satan, you're the enemy, there's no peace. Your home is not a peaceful place. And what happened is in 2003, I told her that I wanted to separate. Like I finally built up the courage to pull the plug. On a Tuesday, I tell her I want to separate. On Friday, she tells me she's pregnant.
Wow.
The rare time that we actually got it on, she got pregnant.
Wow.
So I stayed another 5 years because I couldn't leave a pregnant woman, right? I stayed another 5 years, which was a horrible 5 years because I checked out mentally. And finally, 5 years later, I really pulled the plug on it. And it was rough, man. It was not an easy ride after leaving. It was tough.
When you stayed with your wife after she got pregnant, were you still going to the meetings or did you already?
No, the last 5 years, I go to an assembly here and there, but I wasn't going. So it got really bad.
Yeah. Wow. And what's the age difference between your two kids?
10 years.
10 years. So your son was already 10 at the time that your daughter was born.
Right.
Wow. Wow. And how is your kids right now? They are older, I know that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's I wish it was different. My son cut me off in January.
Wow.
I do so many videos. I got so much stuff online. He came across, or somebody he knows came across one of my videos or something. And I had a granddaughter in October, so I've never met her. So he said, I feel like I need to protect my family and blah blah blah. So yeah, that's a tough thing, but again, for anyone out there, going through any of this stuff, it takes courage.
Absolutely.
You're a trailblazer. If you're going through it, you're a trailblazer. Trailblazers go first. Now I know my kids will wake up in their own due time. But you're a trailblazer. It takes courage.
And when you actually decided that it wasn't for you anymore and you went through the divorce with your wife, did you ended up getting disassociated or did you disassociate yourself or did you get disfellowshipped? No. What happened? Or did you just fade?
I think a lot of elders are not strong men.
So you were an elder when you got
I wasn't. Okay. They were kind of intimidated of me because I was kind of I was well known as a businessman. A lot of people worked for me. I think they were just kind of intimidated. Like I've never had anyone stop by, anyone try to talk to me, anybody try to encourage me. The whole 5 years that I was still married, nobody came and spoke to me. So they've never bothered me.
Okay. So then you ended up getting a divorce. And after how long did you start becoming an activist in the extra women's space? At what time did you actually develop the Facebook group? Because now
Well,
it's
number
almost
one, I
9,000
wouldn't call
people.
myself an activist.
Okay. I also don't like that word, but yes, so I just
I'm
wanted to
not an
hear you.
activist because I don't push against the witnesses.
I'm
My
right there with
purpose in
you.
life is to simply help people live their best life.
Mm.
I want to help people to thrive. Um, One thing that I love about my life is I know my purpose. And my purpose is to help people. You know, today I'm an international motivational speaker and a performance coach for corporations, universities, and I also help the exJW community. My purpose is to help people. My purpose is not to fight the Jehovah's Witnesses. So what happened is I moved on, I became a speaker, I really got into the personal development field. And then I felt a need to help ex-witnesses because I understood their path. I did not want to because I was done talking about it. I didn't want to talk about witnesses every day. And there was a Facebook group that I kind of scrolled through, and people were hurting so bad, and people were looking for answers so bad. This one lady sounded like desperate, almost suicidal. And through all the thread, no one knew how to help her. People were empathetic. People shared similar stories, but they didn't know how to help her. And being trained in personal development, I knew how to help these people. So I started making videos and posting them for people to get some answers. It's all about figuring your mind out. How does your mind work? Conscious, subconscious, creative, subconscious. Well, they kicked me out of the group, being too positive, I guess, right? They're like, people just need to be wherever they're at. They're not asking for your help. Don't want to talk about this every day. I want to go to happy conferences. I live in Las Vegas. I want to go to happy conferences on the strip and just inspire happy people. And then the more I thought about it, the more I said, if my purpose is to really help people, then there's almost an obligation to help the people you understand the most, because the people that can help these people the most are the people that have actually been through it. Mm-hmm. So I started the Empowered Minds exJW group, and it's been 5 years now, but we're about 9,000 people, and I've been able to touch a lot of people's lives, and I'm glad I made the decision to do it, because my purpose is to help people, not just ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, but people. But these people in particular are close to my heart because they've walked a similar trail. So I've had so many people that I've worked with that said, I've been getting therapy for the last 2 years, and I've learned more in a week or two, from you, because there's just a lot of insidious things that they won't understand about Jehovah's Witnesses that we all get.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I completely
Yeah.
I'm following your path. I mean, I'm also a coach in that space. Now I have a group for Jehovah's Witness women. And yeah, there's people that I've worked with that have gone to the therapy for years, and like you said, in a week they get more out of that week than they have in like several years of therapy, because we get it. They don't have to explain the religion through 8 sessions with the therapist. Right. It's like we get it the moment we talk to them, because the vocabulary that we use, the culture that we were in, is only understood by us. It's not understood by a therapist who maybe grew up and lived their life in a completely different way. We get it. We don't need to explain what the truth is, or pioneer, or these small words that only witnesses know. We get it. We understand.
Yeah,
the power
because,
it had.
And the thing about it is, because we're programmed so deeply, we can date still, no matter how long you're gone, you still can relate to that world. And we all dealt with the same elements. Like if I described a congregation I was in, and I described certain people that were in it, you're going to have characters that were in your hall just the same, right? You're gonna have that person that used to do their own research on the Watchtower study, and he raises his hand and the person doesn't want to call on him because you don't know what he's going to say, right? You've all had that pioneer that had a million Bible studies and never knocked on doors. You're just dropping her off from house to house to house. You had that lady. You had the one that gossips all the time in the car group, knowing the 411 on everybody. You had that person. You had the elder that thought he was God, right? Right. You had the cool elder
Absolutely.
that all the kids loved. Every congregation has the same elements. You had the person that fell asleep every meeting, that slept through the whole meeting. You had a lady with, 6 kids that came late that needed the support. Everybody ignored her, right? But she's the one that needed the support. No husband and dragging the kids to the meeting, and nobody ever invited them anywhere. Every congregation has the same people, right?
Yeah.
You had the elder's wife that thought that she was, Miss Goddess. You couldn't do no wrong. You had some elder's daughter that was the biggest slut in the world that acted like she was so prissy. Right?
So fucking
You
true.
had
This is
every single
everyone.
thing.
Very, very true. And the ex-witness space can be just as judgmental as the Jehovah's Witness
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
And I applaud you so
Yeah.
much for keeping your specific group so up, because as we've talked about before, which is one of the reasons why it took me so long to step into this ex-Jehovah's Witness space, is the ex-witness space can be very negative, full of anger and just tons of complaining. And I feel like your group has done a better job with clearing kind of that path and kind of keeping the energy up. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and I get a lot of criticism sometimes from people who join the group and don't understand what we're trying to do. Things without a mission, things without a vision, things without a focal point don't do very well. Mm. Right? So you have to know, with anything that's going to succeed, you have to know what you're trying to achieve. So you can be here and get the masses of the people to another level. Groups without boundaries who just are free for all, because we're dealing with people who have so much trauma and so much hurt, that is always going to overwhelm the group. But what those people are looking for is they're looking for ways to really rid themselves of that, whether they know it or not. No one wants to live in that space. So when you can create an environment that starts to lessen the anger, because what people want, what anyone wants when they're in a dark place, is light at the end of the tunnel. People want hope. So you've got to give them hope that things can get better. Now, what gives people hope? What gives people hope is understanding their mind. When they understand their mind, then they will feel like they have the driver's wheel in their hand. Now, I understand how it works. People argue with me all the time. Sometimes they quit my group, they go in another group and talk a bunch of mess about me, right? They think I think I'm all that. No, I just know how the mind works. And one big component to being happy is progress. It's one of the biggest components to happiness. It's feeling like you took one step forward from where you were yesterday. And you cannot get where you're going in life by looking in your rearview mirror. You will always crash. Your windshield is that big, your rearview mirror is this big for a reason. And that's why I run the group with those boundaries. It's all about moving forward. It's not about making memes about the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not about keeping up with what they're doing today. It's not about, attacking them all the time. The biggest weapon or the biggest thing that you can use against the witnesses is your success. People tell me all the time, how do you wake people up? How do you wake them up? Well, number one, you can't wake up somebody that's not open to being woken up.
Nope.
My son and my daughter are still Jehovah's Witnesses. You know how I wake them up? With my success. But everything about me has to be positive. That's my motivation for working out and keeping fit, right? I want to be like I'm 54, almost 55 years old. I want to have the energy of a young person. I want to have the vibrancy of a young person. So Waking up my kids, that's what inspires me to work out and stay healthy. That's what inspires me to do amazing things all over the world if I can do it. Because at some point, they're going to look at the people around them and they go, you know what? Look at my dad. Something's up with my dad. His life is just keeps going like this. Everybody around me is petering out. Everybody around me is getting old. Everybody around me stop dreaming. Everybody around, what is going on with my dad? You see? And at some point, that window opens up, or that door opens up this much. You see, you can't blow open a door that's deadlocked. But you give me a crack that big, and I'll blow that door wide open. And that's all I'm looking for.
I am right there with you. And that is the reason why I kind of brag about how beautiful my life is. So my witness family and my even non-witness family who doesn't speak to me, they're like, wow, she looks really happy. I wonder why the family has chosen not to speak to her. That's very interesting. You know what? It is what it is. I mean, I think that just living your best life, I feel like I look really good for 42. I'm living a really great life, and it's very fulfilling. Like you said, success. It's a means of, and it's not even about financial success. It's about fulfillment and feeling a sense of helping the community and being the best version of yourself day in, day out. And then you don't have to, like I said, it's not about success for me. It's not about how much money I have in the bank. It's about becoming the best version of myself that I can be. And with that being said, in your group continuously growing, do you feel like you've had a hard time keeping it in such a positive state? I mean, it's been 5 years. Has there been any kind of situations where you're just like, you know what, I'm done with this group. It's getting to a place where I'm just kind of done with it.
Earlier, not so much now. It took them, at first, it was harder at first because I was doing something different. And I had to figure out how to do it. Right. And I used to try to run it where I was more behind the scenes. I had to figure out what the secret recipe was, but there used to be a lot of pushback in the early days. And there was definitely times when I'm like, what am I doing? There's so many other things that I could be doing. But now there's so much momentum, and there's so much like it's an overall feeling of what the group as a whole, not just me, but what the group is feeling, right? So if you have an overwhelming number of positive people, then the overwhelming, the energy of the group will be mostly that. It can't be all that. I mean, life's not supposed to be all positive. You've got to allow people to express themselves, their frustration, their hurts. That's how we know how to help people, right? But just the anger directed at the Jehovah's Witnesses, that's what we try to stay away from. And that being said, that's why we have lots of groups, right? So that if you're in an angry stage, you have a group that might fit that, right? This is not what our group is, right? So I try to look at our group it's for the people who are ready to move on. So some people, they leave my group or they go to another group, and a year later I see the same name come back and they say, I get it now, I'm ready now. And it's for those who are ready, right? Because what was missing when we started that group, what was missing in the community was the group that was for people who wanted to move forward. Because there's a lot of angry groups, but there's some people like, man, I've been out for 10 years. I'm over it. I just want to move forward. I don't want to hear all the negativity every day. Those people didn't have a group, right? So the decisions we make of how we run the group is slanted toward those people, right? Everybody's welcome, but it's slanted to moving forward.
I love that. And even in a post I wrote today, like anger is a really big part of the process of moving forward. You can't just move past the anger because it will always be there with you. So allowing yourself to be angry, as angry as you can be, even if it takes a couple years, but a lot of the ex-witnesses stay in that anger and disgust and just want to crush the organization. And at the end of the day, some people are meant to be Jehovah's Witnesses till the day they die. Like it's serving them a purpose. So why am I gonna hate on the religion if it's serving them a purpose? Like I'm not here to do that for somebody else. I don't know if you feel the same way.
You have to look at what your purpose is or figure out your purpose. Now, you have to know the difference between being a real activist and being angry. I have nothing against true activism.
Yeah, absolutely.
a true activist would be an activist against something. They'd fight for animals. They'd fight for civil rights. They'd fight for, women rights. They'd fight for, gay rights. They'd fight for something. True activism is a person who they just have a real calling for things to be fair and right. That's an activist. So if somebody's a true activist against the witnesses, good. We need you, right? But don't confuse your anger for activism, because in your anger, you're missing your purpose.
Very true.
What is your purpose? Now, if you're a true activist, you could still be happy. True activists go out and do their thing. They did their purpose. They could come home and be with their husband and wife and be happy with their kids because they're doing their purpose. An angry person is not going to be happy.
No.
So a activist is really an angry person who is a talented musician, will waste all their time in activism that could have been used to honing your craft.
Very true.
Okay. And then what will happen is 20 years later, you know what, if it wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, I would have been a great musician. No, you had 20 years to work on your craft. You still blaming the witnesses. You just never got focused.
Right.
Right. You are blaming the witnesses, but it is you who kept it alive forever. It's kind of like, you could have a woman get divorced and she's obsessed about her ex-husband, right? She just, we all know people like that. And they talking and bitching about their ex-husband, 10 years later. And, if Henry did this and Henry, and she's on his Facebook stalking him. Look, I can't believe that, they don't know the real him. She doesn't know who he really is, right? 10 years later, you're still single because you focus on Henry.
Yeah.
So remember this, people. If you're angry, it's okay. I was angry. I was real angry.
Same.
Anger doesn't have to last that long. The first step to getting to the next level of life is the desire to. Not the knowing how to, but the desire to. If you're angry and you want to not be angry, you must first desire to not be angry.
Exactly.
Then when you have the desire and you have a strong why, then you start moving in the direction of what you desire, and you will suddenly find the people, opportunity, and circumstances to bring you manifest this, and it will sit on your lap. I promise you.
Absolutely.
If you have the desire.
And I want to add that I've asked people if they have the desire to let that anger go, and 9 times out of 10, those angry people will say no.
Then you're creating your life. Then you have a low vibration life, a low frequency that you're operating in. And your mind will always validate what you seek to believe.
Yes.
So if you're angry, you have something in your mind called the reticular activating system. It will look for things to say, and that's why I'm angry, and that's why I'm angry, and that pisses me off, and that pisses me off too, and that really makes me mad. And your whole life will exist on that low frequency. And your life will suck because your mind is looking for reasons that your life sucks. But when you desire something different, your frequency goes up a little bit, your mind opens up, you start desiring something, and your mind starts looking for the things that you desire. So if you wake up in the morning and you say, this world is awful, awful world. I don't know how, if there's a God, why is he letting it be so awful? I hate this place. And you get up and you watch the morning news and you watch all the horrible things that are going on, and you're on CNN or Fox and all these, oh my God, I see another shooting. Look at, I can't stand the Republicans. I can't stand the Democrats, whatever it is, right? Then you grab the newspaper, you dig in that some more. And then you eat a box of Krispy Kremes. Now you feel like crap. Your mind will keep looking for more crap. Yep. Because you're right about whatever you believe, but your next door neighbor gets up, goes walking in nature, Here's the birds chirp, gets up early. Here's the birds chirping, the sunrise. The nicest people are up early. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And that person goes, oh my God, the world is such a wonderful place. Oh my God, more evidence. Oh, hear the birds? Good morning. Oh, nice lady. Oh, look at that, squirrel. And you're seeing more evidence, and that person lives an absolutely different reality than the first person. So if you're somebody like, you know what, screw the witnesses, and you go on YouTube and you watch some videos that just piss you off more, and you just are looking for more evidence, and you're always right about whatever you believe.
Exactly. Absolutely. That is 100% what I believe in my head, and you brought them to words. So thank you so much, Rodney. Gosh. Well, this interview you really focus on how to move forward when it comes to the ex-Jehovah's Witness space. Would you like to add anything to this video?
Yeah. Listen, you all have a gift, all of you. And if you think you don't, you have a gift.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to get to the end of your life without planting your gift. You do not want to get to the end of your life with your acorn still in your hand that was supposed to be an oak tree. You were born on a certain date. At some point, there'll be another date on this side. Right now, you're in the dash. You don't always control how long that dash is, but you can control how impactful that dash is. And all you need to do is change your story. When you change your story, you open yourself up to your gift. So in closing, I'm going to leave you a poem. This is called The Gift. I write poetry. I don't write poetry. I download poetry. This comes to me. And this is one of my last poems that I downloaded. It goes like this. It goes, there's a gift that dwells inside of you, bestowed by the universe. Your purpose dwells within your heart. It was given to you at birth. Your worth is not in question, but doubt won't let you see the greatness that lives inside of you. Your belief will set it free. This gift is not for you. Your gift is for us all. So consider it as selfishness if you don't heed your call. This life that we are blessed to live is not merely to exist. It's time to change your point of view, so take time to ponder this. Imagine yourself old. Your life is in review. Will you be filled with regret of the things you did not do? Or will you have an empty feeling as you sit and stare, knowing that you will leave this earth with a gift you failed to share? So live to leave your legacy, and always remember this, that you are one of a kind and that you were born to shine, and your purpose is your gift.
Wow, Rodney. I got goosebumps. My heart was like, fuck, that was so good. And I resonated so much when you said that when you know you're supposed to do something and you don't do it, you're being selfish. I've said that so many times to so many people. And it's so debilitating to watch somebody who's so talented and has a certain gift that does not go down that path. It's, yeah, like you said, it's very selfish because they're depriving the world of that gift that only they can bring to the space and no one else can.
That poem itself was a gift. It's not for me, it's for the people who hear it. I've stood on many stages all over the place delivering poems like that, right?
Wow.
Now imagine if my focus was still on the witnesses.
It'd be so small.
That gift would not go out.
No, you are very right. And it's such a broad spectrum. It's not obviously just for the witnesses. It's a poem that you can share with anybody and everyone that will understand that's alive at this very moment in time in a human body. So thank you, Rodney, so much. You have just made my channel even more brighter. And like I said, it's been a year since we actually you interviewed me a year ago. I was sitting in your seat, and now I get to do the honors of interviewing you. So it's been a pleasure. I do hope to meet you soon. And I love being the moderator in your group. and thank you so much for allowing me to be in that space where I could actually share and feel like I'm putting value into your group. So I will just end this recording. And I just want to say again, thank you so much, Rodney, for your time, for being here, for sharing all of your words of wisdom. And yeah, peace out.